Hello, everyone, and welcome. I think we will wait just a minute to let people join. So let's just bring some coffee or water, or what you want to drink, and give it a minute. Seems like people are joining now. I see. Awesome. All right, let's. I think we can start now, right? So welcome everyone to today's session of Microsoft Teams Rooms and the future of collaboration. My name is Mattias Wikström and I work as a cloud specialist here at Also in Sweden. This session will be recorded, just as you know. And with me, I have two colleagues, I would say. So I would please welcome them with applause and such. But please introduce yourself, German and Robert.
So, me first or you, Robert?
Please, you go.
Yeah, I'm just Matthias's counterpart in Norway, so we're pretty much the same. And also, I'm a huge Teams fanboy, so I'm glad I can participate today. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you, and also thank you for having me. So my name is Robert Carlson. I work as a partner technology strategist. That's a very strange name, but it is what it is for Microsoft. We have this long naming conventions. But in practice, it means that I work out of Sweden, but I take care of partners throughout the EMEA region that has a Teams Rooms practice. So I work with technical enablement. I work with helping our partners to understand the value, the features, the licenses, everything around Teams Rooms. And I've been doing this for almost 3.5 years now. So I'm a part of a global team, but working in the EMEA region. So again, thank you for having me for this.
You're very welcome.
Great, you're welcome. You're welcome, and it's awesome to be honest because especially you, Robert, and both me and German took on this presentation on a very short notice. So keep that in mind. But we are super satisfied that both of you, German and Robert, could join us today. So it's really awesome. And we are very happy to have you all join us as we explore the possibilities that Teams Rooms offer for seamless communication and efficient teamwork. And throughout this session, we will dive into the future and advantages of native Teams and bring your own device setup. And we will also take a closer look at Microsoft Teams Rooms on Windows, Microsoft Teams Rooms on Android. Whether you're an IT professional, a business owner, or simply curious about improving your team's collaboration experience, this webinar is designed to provide valuable insights and actionable strategies. So get ready to unlock the full potential of Microsoft Teams Room and discover how it can be revolutionized the way you work together. If you have any questions, please type them in chat and we will take a look at them later or under the event, on the session, and see if we can help you with that straight away. But yeah, once again, thank you all for joining us. And German, Robert, the stage is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just let me then share some slides.
Yeah, please do.
And hopefully we have it working now. So you should see a black slide or background with a white Microsoft logo on top of it. So
correct.
Works
correct.
Great. Yeah. So I didn't do that video, so I'll try to cover it instead through talking through it. So again, a Teams Rooms update from myself and from also today. If you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can also point your cameras towards that QR code on the right-hand side. And that also hopefully gives you some news and insights, because I try to share whatever we are releasing as regular updates and so through my LinkedIn page. So please connect with me there. But just speaking of Teams Rooms and speaking of the way that we are working today, I would say that we have really changed the working style. So I'll try to cover that in an intro, just go through what we see when we ask our customers a lot of questions each year in what we call the Work Trend Index. Then we talk about Teams Rooms and some of the benefits that we have having a specialized equipment into your room. I'll talk about the licenses that we have today. We have changed them. We also are going to enforce a license change for customers who haven't really done that. So I'll talk through what that means. Features is always interesting, and I'll try to give you some of the latest updates, what we have done for the Teams Rooms on Windows and Android devices. And finally, we'll go through a bit of the admin centers that we have. That is the Teams Admin Center and also the Pro Management Portal, and how those connects into what you can do and how you can manage devices for your customers. So, hybrid work. And I'm starting to get into that space where I don't really say hybrid anymore, because it's just work. It's not hybrid meetings anymore, it's just meetings.
True
because this is really the normal, right? So we do meetings and we do work. And if we do it like myself today from my summer house in Värmland, or if I do it from the office, or if I do it from the home office, hopefully you who are taking place of this webinar, you wouldn't notice the difference, because it's just me presenting and together with also then having this webinar together. It doesn't really matter when we do this, because that is the new way that we have adapted. As long as we have the technology with us, as long as we have a good headset and a good camera, hopefully that will be enough to get you into the mindset that this is something that we are doing wherever we are. So where are we today? Well, before we look at the future, we need to understand a few things of the changes that we have done and how we have adapted throughout these last years. And I'll throw you some figures. You don't need to remember them, but just see it as an introduction to how we have adapted to the new way of working. And when we ask, again, yearly questions to our customers, 73% of them say that they need to have a reason to go into the office that is just more than whatever that was before. Because the office is not mandatory the same way as before. The office is not just for me or for Järmund or for someone else. We have different reasons to be in that office. So we need to have something that is better than just saying that you need to be in the office. Otherwise, people will still work flexible if they have, of course, the amendment from the organization to do that. And also flexible means flexible work hours, because at least where I'm working in a global organization with cross functions, my work hours might not be the same as yours. So we also need to have a platform that is sustainable and that adapts to whenever my work needs are, from wherever they are, they need to support that. So this means that the meeting patterns, the way we meet, that has changed. And I'll just give you one figure to remember, and that is 252%. 2.5 times more meetings today than a couple of years ago, say 3 years ago, before pandemic. So what does that mean? Well, in my case, it means that I have back-to-back meetings. I have so many back-to-back meetings then I think, in my case at least, it makes me less productive to having all these meetings. I'm not sure how you see that from your end, Järmund, but for me, that has changed.
Definitely. Also, I use Viva a little bit to calibrate my workday. It's nice to have a virtual coach looking out for me, and I realized I let meetings run long. So being efficient about your time also is yeah, since we're not saying hybrid work, I guess important about work.
Yeah, normal work, right?
Yeah, normal work.
But the 252% figure really then also affects into the mid figure, that is 42%, because that is the way that we behave in meetings. So if we have 2.5 times as many meetings now as before, but also at the same time, then we don't have time to do wrap up work or prepare for the next meeting because it is back to back. So we also continue then to do other work in our meetings. You don't do that, of course, but I tend to do that sometimes. And that is also something that Viva can actually tell you. Are you being focused or are you doing other things? Are you multitasking? Because that is also the output that you get from having all these meetings will decrease if you can't really focus in them. So again, we need to behave according to whatever my work standards are, how that is. We need to give space in between. That is personal, I would say, behavior. So I need to perhaps book my meetings with 5 minutes later than just top of the hour, because then I give time to my participants to readjust, go get that cup of coffee or something, and then come in, focus to my meetings.
So true.
So it's about behavior. But how does that affect into meeting rooms, and why is it important to understand this? Well, because as we have hybrid work or hybrid meetings per definition, if we are then multitasking, we have too many meetings, we also get hybrid workers, those that are not in the office, to not feel included because they are doing other things. They don't have perhaps the good experience from that meeting room because the meeting room that we built 3 years ago perhaps haven't adapted to this new way of working. So we don't have a camera that could focus on multiple people in that room. So we are just seeing like a wide-angle camera that tries to focus on both the people sitting very closely as well as people sitting very distant. And that is not a good experience, which then leads to the people who joins meetings from other places get distracted. They start to multitask.
Their minds start to wander. So yeah.
And then you're out of your zone.
Yeah, I'm feeling that front row is coming up. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're totally correct. This is something that we will adapt to. And just leading on to that, and not staying too long here, is that before pandemic, we had the majority of people joining meetings from meeting rooms in the office. So we all had the same experience because we were in the room. We could then have this chit chat. We could meet, we can have discussions, and we had people dialing in perhaps, and those were forgotten about until we should close the meeting, where we remember that we had a few people that had dialed in, but they had not had the chance to spoke, or they couldn't raise hands virtually, so they were forgotten about, and that was the experience many times. During pandemic, we all, and I say all, but I know that wasn't all people because it depends on role, depends on where you work, depends on many things, but many of the office workers stayed at home, which led to that we had meetings on Teams. We had the same frames for people. We could see the names. We can have all these new features coming to digital meetings like raised hands, transcription, translation, what have you. So we had a great experience. We also invested into technology. So we had better cameras, better headsets, good fiber connections. So this was a good experience. Now getting back to whatever normal is for your company, your customers, we need to make sure that we still could have productive meetings for both people joining from the office, coming back to a meeting room then that needs to be upgraded, or from any other place that might have this experience of joining meetings from your personal client. Because this is the way it will look like. This is the modern way of meeting and working. So this will, of course, leads up to front row in quite soon. But it leads into that we have realized that having meeting room technology in rooms gives you a better experience. It gives you that easy join functionality that you would like to have, the one-click join. It gives you a friction-free management from an IT perspective because you know what to expect. You will get signals when something breaks. You will be able to update things from a distance, which leads to that you don't get surprised coming into a meeting room and you find out that it's not working. So there's a lot of things where we say that a specific device set in a room will give more value. Coming back to this leads us into that we need to have a vision because hybrid meetings is just meetings now, but it's another way of working and having a meeting without hearing anything is not a meeting that you can have because then I don't know sign language. So for me, it doesn't work if I don't hear what people are saying. So that is like the essence of having a meeting. That is not new. That is since before, since ever. We have added so much more people coming with video, which then leads us to having a better meeting because now we can all see each other. We can see and you can see my hands moving. They tend to do that. But it's a part of how I tell a story. That elevates the experience because then you can see what I'm trying to at least to give you as an expression. With Teams, with modern work, we enabled more collaboration. So we started to have much more features into the meeting. It's not just seeing, hearing, and sending a presentation or sharing a slide that I'm doing today. We started to have other features coming in. Having background blur or background effects to get a better experience, having a text file running along the meeting so that if you're not native speaking, perhaps, it's easier for you to follow along or other things. So this leads us to have a modern meeting is all of these things in the combination that is more immersive. Immersive is a fantastic English word that I don't really have a good Swedish word for it perhaps, but in English it sounds amazing. So an immersive and exclusive experience is everything of this combined into a modern meeting. Does that make sense?
I think it's something that Microsoft maybe is humble about, which is uncommon. You mentioned can't hear or see, but you also have accessibility features that are platform-wide that Microsoft at launch. It's even on my Xbox. So that should probably be mentioned too. It might bring more people into the workforce that you previously couldn't be included as much.
I do agree. Yeah, I do agree. And that is like flowing all over the platform. So it's not just meetings, it's not just Teams, it's not just this. It's like a foundation of when developing anything new, the accessibility aspect needs to be there because we know that people have different abilities that needs to be cared for. So that is like also built in foundational, I would say. Coming back to what is a Teams room? Well, a Teams room is always a compute. It's a separate compute that is certified for Teams. It could be running Windows, it could be running Android. And saying separate is perhaps not the right way because separate is more like it could also be built into an all-in-one solution as well. But it's a specific compute that is designed for Teams rooms. It's running the Teams rooms client on it. It's locked down. It's something that is really built for doing this.
Yeah. Various vendors call this different thing, console hubs, but it's basically a computer running an OS, either Android or Windows, right?
Exactly. And it's a specific OS if it's Windows. It's not just Windows 10. It's Windows 10 IoT, which then is designed for these kiosk-like modes that we are running this on. So it's not accessible as a user PC. It's something that is locked down. And for Android, it's the same. We have Android operating system built out of Android 10, 11, 12. But that is not the same as you have on your Samsung mobile or your whatever mobile you have. It's something that we have built, stripped down the access levels from it. There's no Google Store. You can't run any other apps on it besides from what we have designed. So it's a specific tailored experience. Then you can have different sets of cameras, audio, microphones, depending on what room size, what room usage you would like to have. We don't certify displays, but we certified everything of the rest as something that needs to be Teams certified to be able to deliver this one experience that you can then count on when entering this type of room.
But you do certify panels, right? Panels are certified.
Panels as booking panels or Teams displays, that is a specific type of Teams a Teams experience, but not the front of room displays that you have, that you see your content on, you see your video streams on. Those are not certified for Teams. That could be a LG screen or Samsung.
I put them together because they use the Teams shared device license. So yeah, I usually mention panels and displays together.
Yeah, and displays in this case perhaps is a bit misleading, because I'm talking about displays that you have on the wall and not displays that you might have as a booking display or something else.
Yeah.
So the display on the wall could be anything, but we know that people are using the traditional displays from manufacturers, and they also work closely with Microsoft so that they know how we design, how we work, but they're not designed as certified per se. So if you go to our website looking for certified devices, the front of room screen, the large screen that you have for your viewing of the meeting, that is something out of the certification process.
Maybe call it a monitor. Or
exactly. I think we should change that. And not deep diving into this too much, but just saying that we also have 3 different ways of designing this. We tell our partners, the certified vendors, that you could design your own technology. You need to adhere to some standards. That is how the console should look. Actually, then the interaction part that you have when you're setting up your meeting, when you're inviting people, when you're changing settings. That is a Teams Rooms image that is designed by Microsoft, but then the rest, the actual hardware around it, is something that each vendor can do. The modular stuff is how you build your traditional Teams rooms since a very long time ago. We had Lync and we had Skype, and now we have Teams. You build it around the Windows core, and then you can design your large, small, huddle spaces, whatever you have. The integrated came quite recently. They are all-in-ones where you have your audio, video, and compute as part of the same experience. They came initially to Android, so that was the first devices building out of the Android platform. But now we also have them on Windows. So we have one vendor designing an integrated device based on the Windows platform. The same way also, just to confuse you guys, is that we might also have vendors designing Android devices as a modular separate compute as well. So it is becoming more of a mix, and that is actually the intention, that the customer can choose from a work style, a use case, and find a lot of different products that then they can use out of PC standards perhaps, or how you would like to manage. Are you more comfortable to manage an Android device or a PC device from Windows? Then you make those choices instead. The all-in-ones, they are the screens that has a built-in compute. Could be traditionally a Surface Hub. That is the first Windows device that we then had as a meeting room device. But could also now be a board, like a Neat board, a Yealink board, a D10 board, a Cisco board. There's a lot of different brands having boards, but they are built on Android compute. Anyhow, these are lockdown experiences built on the same technology as the other meeting devices that we have, but they have everything, including a screen, as part of what you buy as a customer. Teams rooms should be inclusive and simple. They should be flexible, having something for each type of room, and they should also, from a security and manageability standpoint, be something that IT can manage, make sure that it's updated, take care of from a health perspective, seeing signals, adhering to whatever feedback you have from users, going into a console, and then getting the insights if this room is working or not. So those are the 4 pillars that a Teams Rooms solution should have. Compared to then a bring your own device perspective, is that a bring your own device solution is a mix of cables and compute perhaps, or not compute, and you bring your own PC, you need to connect that one, you might be having a need to update drivers, you don't really know what experience to have, and you're also projecting your own Teams image to a larger screen for the people in the room. So it's not a Teams rooms image that is built for rooms with a specific type of feature sets. It's your own personal experience that you just project onto a larger screen. Just take that in mind, because we are building tailored experiences for Teams rooms, and we have a specific experience for whatever is your personal client, a mobile, or PC, or an Apple. That is for yourself. That is not really meant to then be displayed into a room setting. We can't monitor these devices as from Teams Admin Center or from the Pro Portal. So IT also is flying blind regarding bring your own device. So it's a lot of things that I think is valuable. The price aspect has been a driver for long to say that we go for bring your own device rooms, because it tends to have a lower price point. But what we see with the new devices coming from vendors is that they're building out all-in-one devices for small and huddle rooms that has a price point that really could match a bring your own device setting as well. But having the advantage of being then managed, being with a Teams client, an experience that is the same from every room that you have. Any comments, German?
Well, I'm just thinking like then we will have everything like this on the home office if you're a hopeless nerd like me. But this is of course meant for the main office.
Yeah, it is. But as for me, I mean, I have 3 different Teams Rooms devices in my home office, and I guess I'm the same nerd then that you are.
Yeah.
But what you can see is, that is really built for rooms. That is built with the specific sets that you have to have a camera that can focus on multiple people, and it could have a very wide angle of you, as an example. So a lot of the features that you have built into these type of experiences are built for rooms. But of course, you can have them in so many times. An executive in an organization might have a small Teams room system in his or hers office, because they tend to have perhaps a small sitting group on the side of the office space that they can have meetings on, which means that they can also run this experience. And as long as you license that room with a Teams Rooms license, then you can also bring that to be a part of that personal experience as well. So that's a part of the license discussion that I hope that we can cover a bit later on as well.
Cool.
But leading on to what you were saying a bit before, yes, front row and everything around that is really where we have taken this traditional meeting room experience into the next level. We have been talking about this for a couple of years now, and we have then adapted to it along the way. So we have released new features, we have added a functionality, and we have built upon that. So now we actually have a very specific design called Signature Microsoft Teams Rooms. And that is built these, again then, saying hybrid, but meetings that includes people in the room, but always then knows that we have people joining from other spaces, making sure that we could, from both sides, have the best interactive meeting, no matter if we're in the room or if we're joining from other spaces. So a few key components here is that you can see that we have a wider screen than what's perhaps has been used for a long time. So the recommendation for this type of experience is to go, if possible, to a 21:9 ratio, because then we can capture so much more of components or content in our meeting that we think are essential to have a good experience. I'll come back to the layout in a bit. We also would like to widen the angle on how we front or how we approach the screen. It could be this type of seating where we have this, I'm not sure how to say it, but banana-shaped table or perhaps cheese doodle-shaped table. But we don't need to reinvent the room either. We could change perhaps to have a table that is a bit wider at the base, facing the screen estate, so that we sit a bit like a triangle, because then we open up both towards ourselves, the people in the room. So if I have people sitting on my right-hand side, I will both face them like this, but I'll still have a very easy way also to face the people that is joining from other spaces. So having some sort of a furniture solution that widens the base towards the screen is essential. But we don't need to throw everything out. We could just perhaps rearrange how we do things today and have this. So then we can care both for being present with our colleagues in the room, but also be very much more present with the people joining from other places. But it also elevates one more thing. So if you have this modern type of camera that could feature and frame people into single frames, then you can also have a much easier way for the camera to work if you don't sit behind each other in a traditional long table seating. So if we open up how we sit, the camera also have so much easier work to make sure that you can frame people in that view. So it also goes both ways. So it's technology, it's furniture, I would say, because this opens up how we work, but it's also a lot of people. Because if we don't tell people about this, if we don't educate them about what fantastic features we have in Teams, how they can use them, then they will have a very hard time to start behaving differently than what they have been doing since before.
I would also say there's good news for the audio files, because I was playing around with various Teams designers and configurators, and you also learn a lot about how to pick up sound, how to dampen unwanted noise, stuff like that. Really interesting stuff.
And speaking of sound, the feature that we call spatial audio that will be released quite soon, that is really making sure that we are going from a very narrow way of how we distribute the sound to have a wide stereo way of doing it. So if people then appear on the lower end of the screen, so one is appearing from the right-hand side and one from the left-hand side, we will also then send the audio from that side. So it's then intuitively for me as an audience in the room to turn my head to where the audio is being then sent from. So spatial audio is also about tricking your mind into that we are in the same room, because we also look at people from there up here.
Yeah, so sort of like a Dolby Atmos in Teams.
Yeah, in a very I would say, and I love Dolby Atmos, so I would say we will not say that we are, but we are adding at least a very good stereo experience to trick the mind.
Awesome.
But we are I guess we are far from the Dolby Atmos experience, but perhaps we're coming there. I'm not sure.
That would be cool.
Coming back to the layout. So this is front row. So front row is actually the layout of how we display people and content. So traditionally, we've had people view, where we see videos from everyone, and then someone starts to present. So we'd also then bring up a slide deck or a screen share to that view, so that we then, in a dual screen setting, might have the presentation on one screen, and then we have people on the other screen, as an example. We don't have the chat. We don't see people in the best way. We don't have access to many of the other things that has become so important in meetings. So we changed that around, and we instead said that let's put people in the lower part of the estate, because if we sit down in a meeting room, it makes sense that we sit down and have the videos of people in the same meeting at the same height as we are looking into the camera. So the revision of this is to put people at the same height. So we might reconsider how high the screen is placed in the room, but that we then look at people. We tend also to guide customers and partners to mount the camera at the same height of the eye level that we have, so that we just look into the camera and not really think about it, because then the camera will see us as we are viewing the camera like I do here, and people that will then think, on the other hand, that we're also then viewing them very good. So it's about, again, tricking the mind, making sure that we capture people in the best way. So we put the people on the lower hand, then we add elements on the right and left-hand side. So on the right-hand side, we have the chat, and the chat is like a parallel meeting in the meetings. And if you miss out on the chat, as I'm doing at the moment, so I just have a one-screen solution for myself, and that is what I'm sharing to you guys. But if I miss out on the chat in a Teams meeting, I might miss a lot of this conversation that's going on in parallel to what we are saying. So that has become crucial. And then we have raised hands, and who thought raised hands will be that important before? Well, it came as a function in Teams as an effect of the pandemic, because we started to be majority of people joining these meetings from other places. So the raised hand was a very good way to make sure that we can capture everyone, and also in the right order when they would like to speak, so that we are inclusive and making sure that we have equality in the meeting. Yeah. So raised hand is something that we can bring on the left-hand side as a row of people in the right order. But then in this case, you can also see meeting notes, and that is a part of the coming experience with what we call loop components. And those are the active components that we can collaborate on, like an agenda, like meeting notes, something that we can be multiple people that adds information to, and that we can read. So we can also put that on the left-hand side like this. This is scalable. So if you're running a 21:9 experience like this, you will have two things, the chat and the raise hand as an example. If you're running a traditional 16:9 single screen, we'll remove one of these elements, because then we would like to still have good space for the presentation in the middle. And then it gets a bit too small if we would like to have done both things. But if you run a dual screen mode, then we'll add again to have. So we have different layouts depending on what type of screen the customer chooses. I'll pause there, Jermon.
Yeah, I had a chance to try this, and it's for the meeting room. It's one really high-res camera and a different one looking to find who's talking, and they can just digitally change the image. And quite fascinating to see actually how good it works in a big meeting room environment.
And this is also something that we can default. So if we have a customer that builds a room with the right furniture, the right camera mounting, then we'd like to help people coming into this room to always start the meeting like this, because this is how we have designed it. So from an IT perspective, you can also say that this is the default layout that we will start meetings with. Then of course you can change it if you'd like to have something else, but this also then helps the people in the room not to have to change settings or to do anything, just to start the meeting.
Yeah, maybe from a management perspective, make some default profiles that makes it easy to, this is this kind of meeting and this is another kind of meeting, and then they could just select that one when they do the initial invite.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a great feedback, because if I'm talking about these signature rooms, that is not all rooms with customers. We will still have small rooms, huddle spaces, media rooms that are traditional. Signature rooms is one use case, but it's also, we have different use cases. But this is like the hero setup, where we future look on how we think that inclusive and immersive meetings will be the best. But it doesn't say that you can't still run meetings in a traditional meeting rooms, or you can have stand-up meetings in an interactive space. Then you do other things. So this is more like to say that this is the guide that we have on how to really make sure that we can have meetings that scale from different work styles, but in a very good way. Very shortly, just going through what we were talking about. So we call this way of framing people, making sure that they have a single screen in the video, or the single frame in the video. We call that IntelliFrame. And we actually launched that as a built-in feature for every camera with the coming update for Windows. So you don't need to have a new modern camera to have this. It will be built out of the cloud. So you can then in the room say, we would like to use this. So the camera in the room can then distinguish what is people and then put them into single frames. That frame will still be one stream out of the room. So it will be one stream with frames in that stream. If we build that together with an intelligent camera, so we have, I'm just name dropping a few, but a Poly E70 or a Logitech Rally Bar, or a Neat frame, what have you. There's a lot of brands. So sorry.
Thanks for dropping Neat. They're Norwegian, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. But there's a lot of fantastic brands out there. We have them all certified that could do this also on the camera level. So the camera is intelligent, and the camera can actually bring this type of feature along with the built-in features from Teams. But we can present people into single streams as well. So I will appear as Robert, you will appear as Germund, but we sit in the same room, we are facing the same camera, but the camera in combination with Microsoft can then put us into single individuals, combining camera features, cloud features, and also understanding who is Robert, who is Germund, and then place our names to this. And this will be crucial when we start doing transcription of what's being said in the meeting, or we're doing action items, who promised what. If people appear as themselves in the room, they can also be then tagged to who said what and who was then promising to buy coffee and biscuits for the next meeting or what have you, because then we can also then start leveraging the intelligence that we have on who is who. And finally, in this part, we will also build this into room archetypes. So you will have design guidelines. This is just an example. This is not us saying that you need to have this brand or this solution, just saying that we will try to help partners and customers to understand the thinking behind this type of rooms. So we'll give guidelines on where to place the camera, how high should the screen sit on the wall, how far should you have the table from the screen, and so on and so on. So we'll help you to be able to build the best solutions for your customers with these guidelines. Coming after summer, that is the plan at least.
Yeah, I think they're even for the long table layout, there's some cameras that can sit on the table, which have
exactly.
Yeah.
Center of table cameras. That is going back to if you have been in this business for long.
It's a comeback, isn't it? It's
yeah, it is. You had the was it the Polycom round table camera?
Yeah.
That then turned into a Microsoft product. That was actually the first. And if you look at some of the designs from our vendors, they also have a similar design from one of the vendors, look like that old camera.
Yeah.
But it's a good way of transforming into inclusive behaviors. Licensing. I will not stay too long here because we have so much more to cover. But just saying that almost a year ago, we changed licensing for rooms. So at the 1st of September last year, we introduced the new licenses. Basic. That is basic. It's free of charge. It doesn't cost you anything as a customer. You can have a maximum of 25 per tenant or per customer. You can mix them with the Pro. So you can both have basic and Pro and customer, but you can't have more than 25. The Pro is the license that we have, so we don't have anything else. So the standard and premium that we had before has now transformed into the Pro. You could still run standard if you have that as a customer on your license agreement, but we will not add features or functionality to that from after the 1st of September last year. So you have what you had at that time. Everything that we have developed since is a part of the Pro license. I will not go into this, just saying that the basic license is basic.
Very basic.
Can meetings. could also do direct guest joins. If you're doing Zoom WebEx, you can actually do that also from a basic room.
It's not very happy with dual screen layouts and stuff like that. So if you have that, it's a no. But it's a good get it started for free with Teams Room.
Also a great way to elevate if you have a bring your own device solution. Then very just true. Add a compute, and then you can go from that, add a compute that is certified, and make that a Teams Room without actually adding a license cost to it, just for starters to see the experience and to play around with it.
I also seen it used for kiosks, and so you go if you need a mini room for yourself in the office environment where you might need some peace and quiet. Why not give it a basic license if it's not an advanced layout?
Exactly. It's a good way to start. It's a good way to start play around and work with it. It's also a good way for smaller customers perhaps that don't have all these requirements because they might not know about them. Let's start. I think as a partner, your aim is to give them the benefits, get them to understand what they can do with the Pro license, because that will really be the future of meetings. That will be everything that I'm talking about will be part of that. It also then goes for manageable. So the room with the Pro license has so much more manageability because it is a part of what we call the Teams Pro Management Portal. So it has a lot of more ways for an IT department to access, to have insights, to have a health standpoint, and to work with the room actually. The basic is just monitoring more or less. So I think that is also one of the huge benefits. The Pro license gives access to the Pro Management Portal. We have customers, and as a partner, have customers that is still running rooms on personal licenses. So E1, E3, E5 could also run Surface Hubs on those. That is actually something that we have been communicating for a year now, that will be end of life. What will happen, or what would have happened actually, is that from the 1st of July, these rooms would stop working. So you couldn't sign on with these rooms. They would just be logged out and then couldn't work. We still saw in our telemetry that we had very many customers who hadn't had the time to do this change. They hadn't realized that this was something happening. So just by yesterday, we extended this grace period to the 30th of September. So if you have customers still running on personal licenses, they will be able to do that until the end of September instead of end of June. That was released yesterday. But also, it's a great way for you to go to your customers to say, hey, have you knowledge about this? Can we help you? Can we help you move to Pro licenses instead? And make sure that you have a running and smooth operation when we are hitting September. So it's a way for us to make sure that we don't lose customers on the way who will be angry, not understanding what's happening, and then come to you as a partner saying, hey, what solution have you sold us? It doesn't work. Well, they're running their own license.
Yeah, I see one of the big question that's been popping up in this: what happens to anyone that's on a yearly commitment or a prepaid? What would happen then? Is there a good answer for that? I'm still
me not being a license expert, just saying that we have step-up licenses.
Yeah.
So there's a way to move from a current license agreement into a Pro.
An upgrade path would be fantastic, in my opinion.
Yes, there are upgrade paths that should be available. And again, I know that you have fantastic license experts within your organization. So I guess you can also find a way to guide your partners through that. So we have created upgrade versions or upgrade step-up licenses to go from something. As long as they're running a standard or premium license, it will continue to work. But it's more like we don't give them access to all the new and the fantastic stuff that we're developing. So we would like them to move, even though they might be under a contract.
So after September, it will percolate on, but it won't be updated, pretty much.
Actually, it's like that since 1st of September last year.
Okay.
So we haven't made upgrades to standard or premium. They are still working. They can continue with it as long as they have a contract for it, but they don't get the feature upgrades.
Okay. Thank you.
Speaking of feature upgrade, and I'll try to swing by here and try not to go over time. But there's a lot of things happening, and I urge you to go and have a bookmark on the Teams blog. Because on the Teams blog, you can just Bing search Teams blog. We do monthly updates, what's new in Teams. And that is for Teams meetings, Teams rooms, Teams devices, and there's a lot of things coming each month. And that is really the difference from what we have today, compared to what we have when we are doing on-premise stuff. Because for on-premise solutions like Skype for Business on-premise, we had 3 years solutions. They were minor upgrades quarterly, but the foundation of the solution were a 3-year plan. Now we're doing monthly upgrades that might be revolution to whatever experience that you're having, because we're doing this in so rapid phase. It's also something that I think you as a partner should have as an edge compared perhaps to your competition out there, because the customers have a hard way to keep up with this. They are focusing on what their core business is, and that is normally not Teams rooms. But if you can support them and say, hey, now we have this fantastic upgrade, it will elevate your experience, or it will make your professionally how you do webinars, or it will speed up the way that you do processes, what have you. Give them that insight, help them to move and help them to adapt, because that is the edge that you can have, being out there and looking for things. One major thing that came quite recently is the new look that we have for Teams on Windows. And that is how we then present the front of room screen and the touch console on the table. This is a view that now corresponds very much as what we have for Teams on Android. A more modern look, a more similar way to display this, so that when I come into a Teams on Windows room or a Teams on Android room as a viewer or as an attendee,
this is completely brandable also, I've seen.
Yes, you can also adapt to this and make your own backgrounds, and I really encourage customers to do that, because then they can place like a QR code perhaps with a easy way to get access to help or guides,
or
just
even
put that on your background.
Even instructions on the splash screen, if needed.
Yes, so this is a great way to start playing around with it, and there's also great information on how to do this, because there's a way on how to apply this backgrounds and then how to change them out. That is a bit cumbersome the first time you do it, but as long as you do it right, then it's very easy. So yeah, do that. Make sure that you customize it and help your customers to do it, because there's a lot of benefits of having their own brand, as well as having help and support being accessed from this. For Android, we elevated the experience to have a touch interaction, to use the boards that we have, I was talking about them before, to go up and do whiteboarding. So it's easy to go to the screen, to start a whiteboarding session, to invite people, and really to use that screen for what it's intended for. And we also have added 4K display support, so you can still run then a 4K within the room meeting. We're not running Teams on 4K, but for us who is in the room, we can see 4K content, and we don't need to downgrade the scaling of the screen to 1080p anymore. And that is also coming for Windows, which is a great add-on. So whiteboarding support, 4K support. Front row is now also a view that we can have on Android solutions. So now front row is available throughout the full ecosystem.
But the whiteboard will also work on if you have a previously display at your home office, which I am. You just run it on there.
Yeah, I'm running a touch screen for my Android solution at home. And I can now start a whiteboard from the console. I can use the touch screen that I have for my meeting. I'm doing it a single screen solution, so I can use the same screen both for seeing people, but also to start a whiteboarding session and create from my touch screen. So it's a fully supported mode that you have.
And you can reuse devices if you have them. And then that's what I think is great. You can repurpose and reuse.
Yeah, we shouldn't throw out things that are working. We should try to find a way to have them still, but perhaps in new use cases. Sure. And having hybrid meetings is for sure green, because then we don't need to travel as much as before. So this is also part of the green. Also adding like the chat to other modes. So if I'm doing a traditional gallery mode, we can now add the chat, because again, the chat is so important to have in the meeting. So it's a part of the meeting experience that we're running. One thing that customers have been asking for a long time is the ability to also add HDMI. So in a Teams room on Android, you can now plug in your cable to the PC. You can share from the PC, and you can also include audio in that share. That has been one of the most wanted features for Android devices. That came a few months ago to the Android platform as well.
Will I need to upgrade my HDMI cable? I guess 2.0 and upwards for the transfer.
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess so, but I'm not an HDMI guy. Could be that you're better on that than
well, all cables aren't created equally, so I know. I'm not an expert myself.
USB and USB-C standards and such. So there's there's a struggle going on many times for to make sure that we have the latest and best cables, and make sure, of course, that you use the recommended cables from vendors if there are any recommendations, so that we don't mix and match that, because that could create issues.
Yeah.
Finishing off almost on time, we also talked about the management part. So we have two paths for management. It's the admin center that is included for every customer. You can then be a customer that has your own organization. You would like them to have your view of things. You're okay to have and run the basic license. Then you're using the Teams Admin Center. Teams Admin Center has everything from Teams displays, panels, phones, old SIP devices, to room devices and Surface Hubs. So you can see all these type of devices in Teams Admin Center. You get a great view of the inventory, so you can see if it's up and running. You have like a health tick in the box. You can do some settings on the devices, especially from a Windows perspective. You can restart, and you can have a history of meetings and statistics. It's included again into the basic license. It will also be a part for customer who is running the Pro license. It's included for free, but we urge them to go to the Teams Pro management portal and use that one, because the Pro portal that is included in the Pro license is a portal or a management portal that is completely built for Teams rooms. It's a health, management, and support portal, so that you will get tickets automated from the portal if something goes down. You will have remediation automatically from the system if we can push an update, if we can make sure that we know the answer to why this is happening. We can actually also then help the customer to do actions towards this. You will have deeper management. You will have interaction between the Pro portal and like the endpoint manager, the resource account, so that you can also make changes into those other portals, because that is actually other portals within Microsoft when you do things. But from the Pro portal, we will actually have access into those from one single pane of glass. There will be ways on how to set up devices into rings. So if I have like an early ring with IT devices, but that we test things out, we can then push early updates to that. We can then have what we will call a staging ring, where we do the bulk of devices that are the main devices, that then has like a 2-week pause before we push updates to that. And then we might have the executive people, the ones that we will say never to fail, but don't really sometimes need to have the latest features from the day one actually also. So then we can put them in a later ring, making sure that they don't capture the upgrades until it's very much later to that process. So having all these things makes the Pro portal very powerful. As a partner, you can also be assigned to work in the Pro portal on behalf of your customers. So if you're a partner running and having knowledge about this, you can actually also go to your customer saying, hey, you could assign me with a role within this portal. We can then work with your devices. They could get them into different hierarchies. So you might only have access to a specific set of devices in a specific office or a country or something. And it's a device portal. You don't have access into other teams stuff, as an example. So they will also only give you access to this. So work with your customers, get access, start playing around with the Pro portal yourself, so that you're getting the knowledge. There's a weekly meeting with the management of the Pro portal action that is open for every customer and partner, so that you can follow along with updates, with features coming to this, ask questions, use it. It's a very powerful tool. I think, Järmund, that I managed to cover a lot of slides and a lot of information.
Yeah.
In quite the time that was aimed for this.
Yeah, plus minus 15 minutes, but we're good.
I thought we had the full hour. I was just thinking within the hour.
Well, I didn't see any people drop out, so apparently we were interesting. So
yeah, I could say that. This was really interesting to watch, and thank you, Robert, really, and Järmund. We do have some questions, to be honest. So first of all, this is being recorded recorded, and this recording will be sent to all of you in an email after it ends, just to clarify that. And I'm jumping straight to the questions here. I already answered this, but can you run Teams Room's basic license on an Android? And I told them, yes, you can. You can use it on your mobile device or your stationary device. Is that true, Robert? Just to clarify it.
The Teams Room's basic license is built for rooms. We have Teams Rooms on Windows or Android. So we have the Teams Rooms specification on Android that is then able to run the basic. So yes, but it's the devices that are tailored for rooms. So it's I'm just name dropping a few then. A Poly X30 or a Logitech Rally Bar that is running an Android mode. Well, they could then run the basic license. But if you're running, you said mobile as well. So we don't use them for personal use. They are intended to use in a room setting, a shared device. Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you. Next question. What happens to our existing earlier licenses that has a 1-year commitment?
We covered it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, but yeah.
And again, I'm not the license expert. I'm just relaying what I'm being told about licenses. But I know we have step-up plans to move from one license to another. If they are prepaid, I would say that the Also team will most probably come back to you with the specialist that you have running Teams and I will say Microsoft licenses, because you have a full department, of course, being specialized in that. So
yeah, but here is information coming in as we talk, so this is quite recent, and we will know more after 1st of July, won't we?
As always.
Yes.
Yeah.
1st of July is the new year for Microsoft, and then a lot of things happens.
Yeah. So how about all the updates and with all the old Team Rooms licenses? Will they not be available anymore, or do you still remain with the futures that you have at the moment, or?
So again, if you're running personal licenses on your rooms, they will not then be working. You can't log into the room after the 30th of September. Should be the 30th of June as before, but now it's September. If you're running standard licenses, they have not received any updates actually the last year, more or less, but they're still functioning, they are still working. They will continue work as long as you have them active in your tenant, depending on contract. But you will not get the latest features added to that, because then they are committed to the Pro license. So you can still run them, but you will miss out of all the good stuff that we have launched since the 1st of September last year, which is a lot.
I encourage everyone to have a look at Pro.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would
say
that
trial licenses. Yeah. Sorry, but you can also get trial licenses. So if you don't have it today, get yourself a trial license so that you can start exploring the difference between the standard and the Pro. Sorry, German, for interrupting.
There's also interactive guides to learn the management portal, and I guess the specialization part in MCPP is good too. If you don't, you can take a Teams Associate degree and take the MS. I think it's 721 now. You did away with the voice expert, which was a low-hanging 3-star, but you can still get your 2 stars as an associate admin, which cover this stuff. And there's a lot of free learning paths on learnmicrosoft.com that actually has videos and click-alongs to learn how to set this up, which I encourage people to check out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to wrap this up, Robert, you mentioned the spatial audio. Is that going to be included, or is that going to cost? Or
it's a part of the Pro license. So if you're running a Pro license, that is something that we will add to it. There's no extra cost to those features. It might be, though, that is some other hardware, depending on how you have set up your room since before and such. But besides from that, no, nothing specifically. We'll add features. And that is also, I mean, that is the benefit of running a pro license, is that we're adding a lot of things, and it just adds to the value of what you're already paying for.
Oh, great. Just one last thing. Do you have any best practices or practical tips, for anyone watching that wanna set something up?
Yes, I have. I'm not sure how many. I could talk for a long time, but let's just keep it short. Firstly, as a customer or as a partner, have a room to play with. Add a few devices. Use that as for knowledge building. Just set it up, play around with it, add all the features that we have so that you can also get telemetry and such, because that is really to understand how things work. We have great guides, we have a lot of documentation, but really to play around with things gives you that value of understanding technology.
Yeah.
And then invite colleagues that are not that technical to have them experience and understand and get their feedback. Is it easy to use? Does it work? And try to build the knowledge around this through also getting the regular people in, because those are the ones who should then use this. And then thirdly, work with continuous knowledge building, because this is not a static solution. I get the question from customers, should I wait? We don't have this feature. It's in the roadmap for like 3 years, 3 months ahead. Should I wait for that? No, because there will always be things that will be in the roadmap that you would love to have, but that is also the benefit here, as we have so many great vendors coming with new devices, but also now starting to have computer or software upgrades for them. You might then start using it because along the way you have so much power in these modern devices. So there comes an update that then adds this feature. It comes an update that adds this feature. And that's what we've seen the last year. Many of the things that we are placing as hardware gets a lot of upgrades from us and from the vendors. So it's not the same device as you had a year ago, because there's so much new great stuff coming to them. So continue, start. Don't wait. It has never been better time to start exploring modern meetings than now.
Yeah. I also started within your Transform portal, you can have those Contoso, those demo environments. You could add 4 for 90 days or 1 for a full year, and it has all the features. So that's totally free too. You can play around there and without breaking anything in your own environment. If that's something that you're scared of doing, you can do it all in the cloud.
Go for the add-on pack that's called Converge Communications, because then you have all the features and you have access to the Pro portal and all the new stuff that we have launched.
Thank you.
We also have good guidance on our. Let me see. If you go to, and perhaps we can add some links perhaps later on, but just as a side note, if you go to the YouTube channel that is called Teams Rooms Tech Talk, we have a lot of guides that we have done. And also one guide that I just remembered is how to set up your own demo tenant as a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great.
Or how to add licenses to your tenants, or all this basic stuff that we have recorded for you partners to use. So Teams Rooms Tech Talk.
Yeah, we will definitely add those links to the recording when we send it out. So yeah, absolutely, great tip. Okay, once again, I think we have done quite well. A really big thanks to you, Robert and Germund, to take on this challenge with such short notice, especially you, Robert, on your free time. And a big thanks to all of you who's watching. And have a great evening and even an even better weekend. And as we say here in Sweden, we are celebrating midsummer, so glad midsommar allihopa, and hope everyone has a great time, and take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.